20 wrestling gimmicks we never knew were meant for someone else.
If you are brand new to our channel, we invite you to take a moment to subscribe. Just click on the lit red button as well as the gray bell. Why the bell? Well, it will let you know every time we post a new video.
20.
20. Glacier, originally Rob Van Dam. Glacier is one of the most overhyped wrestlers of all time. When thinking of WCW's decline in the late 90s, he's one of the names that comes to mind. WCW invested plenty of money and time to promote Glacier, who was basically portraying Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat, but fans didn't buy into it. The character was played by Raymond Lloyd, but it was originally offered to Rob Van Dam, who was in ECW at the time. RVD was regarded as one of the best young talents in the industry, and he probably could have done more with the gimmick, but certainly not enough to become Mr. Monday Night Raw, as he would become years later. Thankfully, RVD wasn't too interested in taking on the gimmick, and rejected it in favor of remaining with ECW. Things worked out for him as he became one of the most popular wrestlers of his generation, and remains a loved figure today.
19.
19. Triple H, originally Owen Hart. Before Owen Hart passed away at WWE's Over the Edge pay-per-view, he had been portraying a new personality under the name of the Blue Blazer. It was rumored that Hart wasn't having the best of times in the company, and might have potentially left, especially since many of his family members and associates had already switched to WCW. In 1997, Owen's brother Bret Hart was involved in the highly controversial Montreal Screwjob, and departed to WCW. It's been said that prior to Owen's death, he was supposed to take on a new gimmick known as The Game. It would be passed over to Triple H once Owen passed away, and since then, Triple H has dominated the main event scene for over a decade. Would Owen have received the same type of push? Unlikely, but it would still have been intriguing to see him as The Game.
18.
18. The Gobbledy Gooker, originally The Undertaker. It seems like luck was on the Undertaker's side as he managed to escape some terrible gimmicks that would have been nearly impossible to recover from. Before he took on the Deadman persona, WWE Creative had major plans for him, which would see him debut at Survivor Series 1990. He would don an oversized turkey costume, and be known as the Gobbledy Gooker. At some point, it seems like they came back to their senses, and went back to the drawing board to come up with The Undertaker. But it was poor Hector Guerrero who was stuck with the gimmick, and his career was doomed since then. Despite belonging to one of wrestling's greatest families, that failed experiment was always associated with Hector. Would The Undertaker have been a better turkey? Not even he could have gotten the character over with the fans, who immediately rejected the newly debuted Gobbledy Gooker.
17.
17. The Heartbreak Kid, originally Shane Douglas. Rumors have it that Vince McMahon pictured Shane Douglas as the Heartbreak Kid, and the gimmick was set to be his until he required some time off. It seems like the character was a match made in heaven for Shawn Michaels, who happened to be the next choice. He probably would have still crafted a great career with a different nickname, but we simply can't imagine him being anyone else. His antics got him over with the fans, and helped in making him one of wrestling's most important figures. As for Douglas, his WWE never took off despite working for the company at different times, but he did achieve success as the franchise in ECW. He was one of the many names who helped in pushing the company to a new level, although he was never able to recapture that magic in WWE. Even as the Heartbreak Kid, his career trajectory wouldn't have significantly changed.
16.
16. Big Van Vader, originally Ultimate Warrior, Sid Vicious. When NJPW were planning to create the Big Van Vader character, they had several names in mind. The first one being the Ultimate Warrior, who wasn't known at the time, but Vince McMahon recruited him to the WWE before he took on the persona. Warrior would go on to have a Hall of Fame career, so he probably didn't lose much sleep about it. The second choice was Sid Vicious, but for unknown reasons, NJPW decided to take it to a different direction with their third pick. It finally landed with Leon White, aka the Big Van Vader we've come to know, and he crafted an impressive career with it. This goes to show that luck plays a huge factor in wrestling, as some gimmicks and storylines get passed on before being picked up by someone. Vader was one of the lucky names, and he didn't take that opportunity for granted.
15.
15. Married, Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews was already a well-known star on the independent circuit under the name Yuhi Nation, before he made his way to WWE and became known as Apollo Crews. After turning heads in NXT, Crews made his way to the main roster, where he has become another NXT star who has been used ineffectively for the past year, but now has potential under the Titus brand moving forward. Crews is married to a woman named Linda Palanin, but Crews is quite private when it comes to his personal life. This means that it is unknown when the couple actually got married, but what is known is the fact that the couple recently welcomed their first child back in June. The couple called their first daughter Sade. Despite having a family of his own, Crews is still roommates with Ricochet and Tessa Blanchard, and the three apparently live quite happily together in Orlando.
14.
14. Single, Asuka. Asuka made her way to WWE back in 2015, and ever since her debut later that year, she has had the women's division on lockdown. WWE has never had a female professional wrestler with Asuka's ability, and after her recent promotion to the main roster, it seems that the company could be set to allow her to become the face of their division on Monday Night Raw. Asuka didn't become one of the best professional wrestlers in the world overnight. She has learned her craft over a number of years, and has had to focus solely on this career path in order to get to where she is today. This means that even though Asuka is 36 years old, she is still single. She chose her career over a personal life, and it seems that this has paid off for her in a big way, because she looks set to become one of the best female wrestlers in WWE history in the near future.
13.
13. Married, Bo Dallas. Despite his brother Bray Wyatt's personal issues over the past year, when it comes to his marriage, it seems that Bo Dallas has managed to keep his marriage on track, even though he is seen as a mid-carder below his brother on the WWE roster. Dallas was thought to have definitely married out of his league when he met Sarah Bachman back in 2013, when the two were both performing together in NXT. Sarah is a former 8-time World Arm Wrestling Champion, and she currently works as a real estate broker after being released from WWE in 2014. She was released from WWE in April 2014, and went on to marry Bo in June less than a month later. Dallas has recently been on a lengthy hiatus from WWE, which forced him to miss the TLC event when it was revealed that he was suffering from a viral infection that was believed to have been mumps.
12.
12. Single, Big E is a former NXT champion, and currently 1/3 of the New Day, who became the longest reigning tag team champions in WWE history last year. Despite the fact that his teammates Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston are both married with children, it seems that Big E is still having fun living the single life. Big E even recently became ordained, so that he is now able to marry couples, even though it obviously isn't something he wants for himself. Big E is popular in the WWE locker room, and has been seen on Total Divas, as he is good friends with many of the women on the WWE roster. He could be another star who decided to focus on his wrestling career rather than his personal life. Incredibly, Big E has never been part of any backstage scandals or rumors in his career either, which goes to show that he isn't that kind of superstar.
11.
11. Married, Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano is one of the most popular wrestlers on the NXT brand right now. He is a former NXT Tag Team Champion, along with his best friend and former roommate Tommaso Ciampa. Gargano found fame on the independent circuit before he was signed to WWE, and is now affectionately referred to as Johnny Wrestling by the NXT universe because of his incredible technical ability. Gargano and Ciampa lived together until earlier this year, when Ciampa turned on his longtime friend at NXT TakeOver Chicago and moved out of the apartment following these events back in May. This was seen as strange, since Gargano married his longtime girlfriend Candice LeRae back in 2016, but the couple didn't actually live together. Candice has recently made a number of appearances on NXT alongside her husband, and was part of the Mae Young Classic back in the summer, where Gargano was seen at ringside cheering on his wife.
10.
10. Single, Tamina. Tamina Snuka is the daughter of WWE Hall of Famer Jimmy Snuka, and she became a second-generation superstar in WWE back in 2010, when she made her debut. Over the past 7 years, Tamina has mostly been used as a talent enhancer, or as a valet for tag teams, having not been able to win a championship of her own yet. It is well known that Tamina is a mother, and has 2 young daughters called Melanetta and Lolita from her first marriage. Tamina divorced her husband back in 2003, before she decided to pursue a career in wrestling, and has since been raising her daughters as a single mother. Tamina was once the only female wrestler contracted to WWE who is a mother, but Mickie James recently returned, and has a 4-year-old son, while Mary C and Maria both recently announced that they are expecting their first children.
9.
9. Married, Aiden English. Aiden English is a former NXT Tag Team Champion with his vaudevillain teammate Simon Gotch, but it seems that ever since Gotch's departure from WWE, the company has been trying to push English's singing gimmick to the point where it now seems that he could be part of a tag team with Rusev. It isn't very well known that Aiden English is actually part of the famous Guerrero wrestling family through marriage. He is the son-in-law of former Raw general manager Vicky Guerrero, after he married her daughter Sahel back in January 2016. Shaw made a name for herself in NXT for a number of years as Raquel Diaz, before she asked for her release, and it was granted back in 2014 when it was revealed that she was struggling with an eating disorder. It was while Raquel was performing for NXT that she met Aiden English, and it seems that the two have been together ever since.
8.
8. Single, Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman came to WWE as one of Adam Rose's rosebuds after a lengthy career as a strongman. Braun has since been one of the most dominant forces in WWE over the past few years, and even though he was put into a garbage truck back at TLC, it is thought that he will continue to wreak havoc on the Raw roster in the coming months. Incredibly, many of the current WWE divas have stated that they are good friends with Braun, because he's one of the most fun guys backstage. He's completely different to his on-screen character, but it seems that despite being fun to be around, Braun is still single. Last year Braun Strowman's Tinder profile was leaked to the WWE universe, which must be hard as both a WWE star and a giant.
7.
7. Married, Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe is a legend in wrestling circles. He is a former TNA superstar, and current member of the Monday Night Raw roster. Samoa Joe is currently out of action with a knee injury, and is due to return to the company at some point in the near future. Joe is a former NXT champion in WWE, and is now considered to be the right hand of WWE Cool Triple H. Despite the fact that Samoa Joe is thought to have been married to the wrestling business over the past few decades, the Salmon star is actually married to Jessica Sinoa, and the couple has been together now for more than a decade. Joe is another WWE star who is very private about his personal life, and the WWE Universe will rarely see the Salmon submission machine with his wife at events under the WWE banner, because he likes to keep his personal and professional lives separate.
6.
6. Single T.J. Perkins. T.J. Perkins made history back in 2016, when he won the inaugural Cruiserweight Classic, and became the first ever Cruiserweight champion of the current era. Perkins was then moved to WWE's Raw brand, where he was seen as the face of the 205 Live roster, until he lost his championship a few short months later. Perkins is quite a popular superstar with the WWE Universe, especially the women, so it comes as a shock to many of his female fans that he is still single. Perkins seems to divide his time between wrestling for WWE and looking after his two pet micro pigs called Pugsley and Cupcake. Perkins posts images on his Instagram page that show that he dresses up his pigs sometimes, and even teaches them tricks. It is unknown why Perkins is still single at 33 years old. Perhaps he is just waiting for the right person to come along.
5.
5. Married, Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn became quite popular on the independent circuit as El Generico, before he signed for WWE back in 2013. As a former NXT champion, he has never been able to recreate the success he had on the NXT brand on WWE's main roster. Sami recently turned heel, and has become part of one of the main storylines on SmackDown Live. Despite being popular with the WWE Universe, it seems that Sami is still a very private person, so much so that he has been married now for a number of years, but there aren't many people who actually know when he got married, or who his wife actually is. Many of his wrestling friends have referred to Sami being married in conversation over the past few years, but the underdog from the underground is quite happy to keep his wife as far away from the wrestling business as possible.
4.
4. Single, Charlotte. Charlotte has been making history in WWE for the past few years, and is now considered to be one of the best female wrestlers on the current roster. Charlotte is also the daughter of Ric Flair, which has given her a much bigger push into the spotlight ever since her debut. Despite being highly successful in her professional life, it seems that Ric Flair's issues in his personal life could have been passed on to his daughter. Charlotte has already been married and divorced twice, and her second divorce was finalized back in October 2015, just before Charlotte started a fling with Alberto Del Rio. A few months later, it seems that Del Rio had his head turned by Paige and announced that he was in a relationship with the British diva, leaving Charlotte heartbroken. It seems that this was the last relationship Charlotte was in, and she has been wisely focusing on her wrestling career ever since.
3.
3. Married, Eric Rowan. Eric Rowan is a former member of the Wyatt family, and is considered to be the least successful member of the group. With the likes of Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt being pushed towards championships, while they were still part of the group, it seems that Rowan is the only member of the group who is yet to win a singles championship. Rowan and Harper recently debuted as the Bludgeon Brothers, which could be a new start for both superstars. Rowan is another WWE star who doesn't have much of a social media presence because of his strange character, which means that there isn't a lot known about his personal life. What is known is the fact that Rowan is married with 2 children. Rowan's wife is called Jamie Rudd, and the two were married back in 2010. The couple tries to keep their children out of the spotlight, so there isn't a lot known about Rowan's son and daughter.
2.
2. Single, Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler is one of the most successful stars currently plying his trade in WWE, and could now be considered to be a veteran after being part of WWE for the past decade. Ziggler is a former Mr. Money in the Bank as well as a former world champion, but it seems that like many other WWE stars, Ziggler is unlucky in love. Ziggler was in a high-profile relationship with Nikki Bella up until 2012, when Bella moved on to date John Cena, and Ziggler moved on to a relationship with comedian Amy Schumer. Amy revealed that she broke up with Dolph via text message, because she found that the SX was too athletic. Dolph was then said to be in a relationship with Dana Brooke. This relationship didn't last for very long, as the two were split up after the WWE draft, and apparently decided to go their separate ways.
1.
1. Married, Curt Hawkins. Curt Hawkins has been seen as a jobber on WWE TV for so long now that it is hard for the WWE Universe to see him as anything else. Incredibly, Hawkins is a former tag team champion, but he was released from WWE back in 2014 along with a number of other stars. Hawkins was a shock resigning for WWE following last year's brand split, but it seems that he has slotted back into the same position he was in on the WWE roster before his release 2 years before. Hawkins is another superstar that many of the WWE Universe didn't know was married. He married his longtime girlfriend Lizzie Karcher back in 2015, and the couple announced that they were expecting their first child together back in 2016, before she was born earlier this year.
Yeah.